Welcome back to Tottenham on Tour's world famous Christmas Advent calendar. It's day number 7, which is a very important day in any important Christmas cracker video series. But we have none other than Mr. Daniel from We Are Tottenham TV. The two Bens are taking over. It's great. It's going to be really difficult for Mr. Daigle, but we're going to get through this wonderful video. But Mr. Daniel, how are you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing good, my friend. Getting in the festive spirit. Good to be here. Thanks for having me on. And a Ben takeover. I'm not sure what Brian's doing here.
Yeah. Ben squared. Ben squared.
I have to say, I now know what everyone else feels like coming onto this show with the two Brians.
Yeah.
This is confusing, but I'm happy we've got both Ben brothers here. And this is going to be a good
Triple
one.
B, both Ben brothers.
Yeah, there you go. And a Brian, the quadruple.
The quad is on in the words of Cuba 99. But it's day number 7. But we have to follow the usual order of Christmas cracker jokes, and we start with our guest first. Mr. Daniel, what is your Christmas cracker joke?
My Christmas cracker joke is, what's the difference between the Emirates and a cactus?
I don't know, but I'm intrigued for the answer.
Yeah.
Well, with a cactus, the pricks are on the outside.
That was wins.
No, there's no point. He's won the whole festival.
He's won.
He's won the whole festival. Okay, my joke.
There you go.
I don't know how anyone can follow Ben, but what nationality is Santa?
I don't know, Brian. Tell me, what nationality is Santa?
North Polish. It's so bad. It's so bad.
I like it. And finally, what do you call a blind reindeer?
Ooh.
I think I know it, but I'm gonna
Go on, tell me.
no idea.
There
you go.
That was a good one. I think my one just about wins. Just slightly.
Yeah. Let us know which Ben has the best Christmas cracker joke. And
I'm out of it. I'm out of it.
He's already won. He's already won.
Let's get into it. Day 7, big day, big players. This one will be spoken about, but I think all of us are going to say we know him for the same reason. Let's talk about Tony Galvin. So, Ben Kaufman, over to you, sir.
I've met Tony Galvin on a few occasions. He's a really nice bloke. We had both Bens. We had the pleasure of meeting him at the Legends thing over at the Royale in Tottenham before a certain football match. And the stories are great. He was a hard man. That's one of the things about this 80s team and the late 70s team. They were hard as nails, and Tony Galvin is no exception to the rule. Like, speedy winger down the wing, but very difficult to get off the ball. Played for Northern Ireland, of course, even though he was a Yorkshireman. But what a footballer he was. And another player on the list, 2 FA Cups, 1 UEFA Cup, 200 games. A legend right there. For a long time, playing all those games back in the day. He's just a brilliant footballer. Lovely guy as well. Managed to have a chat with him when we were down at the Royale. And just a really good bloke. And although he played for Northern Ireland, he was a pure Yorkshireman, just like Bill Nick was, just like Keith Birkinshaw was. They loved the club. They loved the people at the club, and they took Tottenham. They took Tottenham with them. He's just a great player. Great player.
Mr. Daniel, sir.
I mean, Tony Galvin was a bit before my time, but again, like Ben said, we both had the pleasure of meeting him. We also had the pleasure of interviewing him after a Tottenham Legends game, and you're right, absolutely lovely guy, bleeds blue and white. He loves the club so much. You can hear that every time he speaks. But the one thing I kind of take away from Tony Galvin is speaking to maybe some people that are around in the 80s talking about the Spurs teams then. We never really won the league, but, won a lot of cups around that time. And they always talk about how good of a winger he actually was, Tony Galvin. Fast, trickery, good cross on him. So as much as I never saw him play, I've only limited to see highlights and stuff like that, which I'm sure you'll get on to a certain assist in a minute. But I think that it's a shame I never got to see him play regularly, because all I've heard is good things about Tony Galvin.
Yeah. I mean, the thing I look at it, when I see 2 FA Cups, he's won more FA Cups in 201 games than Ben Kaufman has seen in a lifetime.
Yeah.
And Ben, you're what, 28 now? So it just goes to show. But yeah, this guy, I don't know how many drinks he would have got in his lifetime for one pass. And who would have known that pass to Ricky Villa would have left such an impression, such a mark. But the other thing you two mentioned is the Yorkshire connection. I think we need to sign more Yorkshiremen. Maybe that's where we're going wrong, because any Yorkshiremen, Bill Nick, any of them, they seem to do well. They seem to do well. So yeah, listen, I like you guys, Tony Galvin, just before my tour, I was alive. I was 2 years old when we won the FA Cup. So I can't really comment on him, but it's wonderful to hear good things about him. But someone from the same era that we're going to have a hell of a lot to speak about, and I think everyone knows him. His knees may have gone a bit trembly. The Argentine sensation. Kaufman, as always, you go first. Take it away.
It's another player I've met on this list. Met him when Tottenham played Juventus back in the day, when Moussa Dembele ran the show that night. It was a wonderful evening. Just another really nice guy. Had all the time in the world for Tottenham fans. He stayed in the same hotel as us. Just all the time in the world. It must have been really difficult for him, because every single person in that bar bought him 3 drinks each. And he has to say no to it. He's like, there you go, Ozzy. Yeah, there's a drink. Everyone loves Osvaldo Ardiles. Just a wonderful footballer. A World Cup winner when he came to Tottenham with his mate Ricky. Just a brilliant player. Was a assistant manager as well when Steve was the manager. Created the famous 5 going forward and no one in defence. It was absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
A bit like Spurs now, Ben.
It's basically now, but just a wonderful footballer, and still a member of the club, still does a lot of work behind the scenes. When Poch was here, he did a lot of work with Poch, and you saw him in a lot of videos. Was just a really nice guy to have around, and instills a winning mentality. It's a shame there aren't more like him at the club.
Absolutely.
Over to you, Ben.
I think when you're thinking about connections that maybe you wouldn't have thought the club have connections to. So you spoke about Yorkshire just now. Another connection is Argentina, where Ozzy and Ricky were the ones that started that, that big connection between that country and the football club. And Ozzy Ardiles, again, before my time, but my dad never stops going on about players like Ozzy Ardiles and Ricky Villa. And, he came and he always tells me the story about the ticker tape at White Hart Lane, where, they used to come out and chuck the ticker tape over the players and stuff like that. It used to cause a good atmosphere at White Hart Lane. Just an unbelievable player. Again, got a lot of flair, trickery. A player that would fit the Ange Postecoglou system now, like a hand on a glove, probably, to be honest. And he was probably a player that was a bit before his time. Maybe a player that had so much flair and trickery that he would be suited for the modern game, to be honest. And he kind of put Spurs on the map in a sense, where in that time in football and in the league there were foreign players, but not as many foreign players as you see now. And it kind of started that massive influx of players coming from abroad and especially from South America. So definitely before his time. One of the greats at Spurs, and obviously he's got the trophies to show for it, unlike some other greats that we have.
Yeah, we'll get onto this. And there's a couple of things I'll say about the player, the manager, but then I have a very funny story to tell about Ozzy Ardiles. A very funny story to tell about him. The player, if you remember the Ricky Villa Cup final, everyone will remember that game for that goal. If you look at the first goal that Ricky scored, that goal is scored because Ozzy Ardiles dances around about 6 or 7 players and then has a shot which comes back to Ricky, puts it away. The manager, maybe not as good as the player, but he gave me Jurgen Klinsmann. He gave me Jurgen Klinsmann, and Tottenham Hotspur signing a player of that magnitude, you can't say anything but. But the funny story I have to tell about him is thanks to someone that Mr. Daniel and I know very well, Ronnie Kidd. He does the Legends Nights, and I went to one. It was Keith Birkinshaw, Alan Gilzine, Ozzy Ardiles. And they were telling a story about that. Spurs had some huge game under Keith Birkinshaw, and he didn't want to play 3 in midfield. He had to play 2. So he called Hoddle, Ardiles, and Villa into the manager's room to have a chat. And obviously, Glenn speaks perfect English. Obviously, Ozzy speaks English to some extent. Obviously, perfect now. Ricky, not a word. Not a word. So Ozzy had to be the translator. See it? He started saying, listen, we're playing a 2, not a 3. I need to pick 2 out of the 3 of you. I need to know who's fit, how you're feeling. So he goes, Glenn, how are you? He goes, 100% fine. I'm ready to go, Gaffer. He's like, right, you're in. He said, Ozzy, how are you? He goes, yeah, I'm absolutely fine. No problem at all. So he said to Ozzy, Keith Birkinshaw said to Ozzy, ask Ricky how he's feeling. So he asked Ricky, told him everything. Ricky said, yeah, I'm good and ready to go. Ozzy turned around and goes, he's feeling very tired. He's very, very worn out. And because of that, he played Ozzy and Glenn. And when I heard that story, it just made me laugh. You think about the song and everything, but that story will always stay with me. It's an incredible story of how things used to be. You look at it now, so many managers speak multiple languages, or they're actually getting an interpreter in. How to screw over your best mate in an important game. But moving on, now people are going to start remembering people. We're getting very, very present in the recent future. Mr. Darren Anderton. I had to pick that kit, and there's a reason that kit. But Ben, over to you, Mr. Cochran.
I mean, the first player on this list I sort of remember. He was sort of my first winger that I saw growing up, because that's sort of the era I was able to start going to games regularly whilst I was at primary school. And Anderson was a top player. Like, he is so underrated how good his delivery was. His corners were deadly. And it's one of those things that he's so underrated. And we were talking before, Brian, about the amount of appearances. Before Hugo Lloris, he was like our record appearance holder. That's how many appearances he made. So a lot of people call him sick note. He was always injured. But a player to be that injured, apparently, and to be our club record player was unbelievable. And he was really just a really high point. Again, another Ozzy Ardiles played with Klinsmann and Sheringham, and just having deadly crossing ability. Was just a brilliant player. In the words of the guy that used to sit in front of me at White Hart Lane, Anderton, get out on the wing. And Anderton was more of just a winger. He was a top footballer. He was a top footballer in his own right, but really ahead of his time in a way, because he would be deadly now, especially with how complicated set piece routines can be. Like someone like the guy we had, what's his name? The guy we had last year, set piece, Gianni Vio. Imagine he'd be deadly.
Yeah.
Deadly.
Anderton didn't need Gianni Vio.
This is true. He just needed Teddy Sheringham.
Yeah, exactly. They were telepathic, weren't they? Teddy and Darren Anderton. What a great relationship they had on the football pitch. It was unbelievable.
A lot of double acts in this series. Klinsmann and Sheringham. We've now got Anderton and Sheringham. Ben and Sim.
Brian
and Ben. There's just double acts all over the place.
But Ben, what do you remember about Anderton?
I kind of remember a bit later on in his Spurs career. First of all, a lot of injuries he had, which held him back massively. I remember when he got called up to the England squad for the World Cup '98. But one goal that really stands out for me from Darren Anderton was in the cup against Leeds. I think we beat him 2-0 that day.
Yep.
Ginola scored a brilliant goal, but Darren Anderton just picked up the ball, I think from a short free kick or something, from like 35 yards out, and just whack into the back of the net. And I was just like, what a player this guy is, man. Yeah. Right foot from absolute heaven. He really was a right foot from heaven. And the kind of relationship he had with Teddy Sheringham, it's very similar to maybe the relationships that Harry Kane had all over the pitch, because Teddy Sheringham also had those with many different players, and Anderton was just another one of those players. But I think when you're looking at those relationships that Teddy had, I think the most natural one was Darren Anderton, and I think that was probably the best one for me growing up. When you're looking at the synergies between the two players, Darren Anderton, if he wasn't such a sick note, you're saying like where he was in the rankings for Premier League appearances. Imagine if he didn't get all those injuries. Like, no one would have been able to touch him, literally.
Not just that. If you look at it, you spoke about people like when we're talking Ardini's being in an Ange system. At the moment where we're struggling to convert and get the crosses in, if this man had been now in his prime, you've got to remember, we signed him from Portsmouth for 1.75 million, and I think they're in Division 3. And the reason I brought that shirt up was that was the first shirt where there was numbers and names on the back.
Yeah.
And from the very second that shirt came out until Darren Anderton left, home and away top, I had 9 Anderton, or where he started, and 7 in his later career. He, for passing, like you said, telepathic with Darren Anderton. He kept David Beckham out of the World 98 squad. You've got to be some player if you're keeping David Beckham out.
Not the squad.
Not the squad, the first 11, sorry. The first 11.
The one of the other, Beckham overtook him, didn't he?
Yeah, he did overtake him. But to start off with, Beckham was on the bench till the Colombia game where he scored that free kick. And then we know what Beckham did the game after. But Darren Anderton was one of the most deadliest through balls, crossers that I've ever seen at Tottenham Hotspur live. He was absolutely unbelievable. And I'll tell you what, like you said, Ben, if he hadn't have had the injuries he had, we're talking, we have over here the Hall of Fame. This is a guaranteed Hall of Famer if he didn't have the injuries. Incredible player. But now we're going to speak about someone before we come to the big finale. I wonder who people think the number 7 finale could be. But we're going to talk about someone that everyone loves, no matter what. And especially, I had to pick that picture, Mr. Daniel. Is there a better picture of Aaron Lennon at that moment? Mr. Kaufman, Aaron Lennon.
I mean, it's another player from my youth. I absolutely
another Yorkshireman as well.
Yeah.
That's true.
I absolutely adored this player, and which is really funny. You've brought up that picture because it's not actually my favourite moment of his. In my favourite moment, AC Milan. He got the ball on the edge of the box, sprinted all the way down the end of the pitch, took on 2 players. On a plate for Peter Crouch, back of the net, 1-0 versus AC Milan in the Champions League. Euphoria. Absolute euphoria. He was an absolute superstar. He was an absolutely brilliant player. And part of the team where I saw my first cup getting won. Like he was a massive part of that team. Like even in the League Cup subsequently, where we lost against Man United, he tore one of the best left backs in the world to shreds. Patrice Evra is still having nightmares about Aaron Lennon. For him to shreds that day. What a brilliant footballer. Got everyone off the edge of their seats. Aaron Lennon is the sort. He is a footballer everyone likes. He might not have the best end product, but when he got the ball, everyone got off their seats because you knew something was about to happen. He was about to do it. Take someone on, go past someone, make something happen, cause panic.
Yeah,
he's brilliant and a massive advocate for mental health now because of a lot of the stuff he's done in his later career. Still playing, I believe, Aaron Lennon, or is he just retired?
I think he's just recently retired. I think he's like literally in the last 6-7 weeks.
He was just a wonderful player for Tottenham, and it's a massive high point in a lot of our youth, or at least in my youth. We didn't have a lot to celebrate, but what we did have was we had one Aaron Lennon sprinting down the wing with Bale on the other side. But that's 2 wingers I can really get behind. Just players that can just go like that, just go.
I thought you were getting ready to do that, actually.
Yeah, you can do that as well.
Well, I thought you were about to say, like, whoa.
Yeah, but what a brilliant player and a great player to watch and grow up with.
Bang on, Mr. Daniel, sir.
I love that man. I love him so much because, like, he was in the team when I started properly going to away games, 2004, 2005, 2006, running down the wing. Later on in his career, you know, he had that brilliant relationship with Vedran Chorluka out on that right-hand side. I love that dynamic that they had together, to be honest. And so many standout moments, so many. Obviously, that one at the Emirates that you showed up before. I was there that day, and the scenes in that away end, or the few of us that were left anyway. It was like proper scenes with just a few of us left. I can't even like put the words in there because that's how good it was. There was that one, like you say, in the San Siro. I was there that day, how we skipped past Mario Yepes at the San Siro. But one that I want to talk about is when he scored at White Hart Lane against Chelsea 2-1 when we beat Chelsea for the first time in many, many, many years. And the Lane at that time was probably the best atmosphere I've ever witnessed that night. The Lane was absolutely rocking. I don't know if either of you were there that night.
I was there.
I was pissed in a bar in your lap.
How amazing was that atmosphere, Ben?
Yeah, it was unbelievable. Very fond memories of that game. And it's another Martin Jol team that was absolutely brilliant. It's a brilliant football team. Can't really remember the exact team unless I like go into my memory banks. But what a football team that was! Just played brilliant football, and he was part of it.
Michael Dawson, Ledley King at the back, Aaron Lennon out on the right hand side. Yeah. I mean, it was a very exciting team, and that was like the start of the journey that kind of we're on now, right?
Yep.
With Martin Jol taking over, and things just progressively got better with a few backtracks here and there. Got to be said, but I think Aaron Lennon, he just gave us so much excitement on that right hand side, where he's so direct. He used to cut the ball back perfectly a lot of the times, not so perfectly sometimes. I think his crossing had a bit much to be desired about, but I liked his like low driven crosses and his cutbacks. I think that's where he probably earned his money, Aaron Lennon. But top player, and a player that kind of helped me at that time fall in love with Spurs and start that progression.
I'm so happy you all left the game out. I'm so happy. I was like, don't say it. But I will say, because that photo, you got to remember that game was when smartphones didn't exist. You couldn't check everything out on your phone. And my best mate outside of this community is an Arsenal fan. And he took his dad to that game, and he left at 4-2 because he wanted to avoid the massive. He thought, game's done, 90 minutes, blah, blah, blah. Walked out. He's waiting to get on the train at Arsenal. He phones me up, and I'm pissing myself laughing. He goes, "Why are you laughing?" And I was like, "Have you left? When did you leave?" And he goes, 4-2. I was like, and I was like, you just want to check something because the score's not 4-2. He went, what, 4-3? Big deal. I went, you need to go check. And he was like, 4-4. He goes, are you taking the piss? And obviously, no one had smartphones, so no one had a clue what was going on.
Yeah.
He literally, I said, go into a pub nearby and ask anyone what the score is. He walked in, he called me back and said, don't talk to me for 48 hours. Put the phone down. And we now have a rule after every North London derby, we have a 2-hour cooling off period before the battle can commence with us. But you missed out one game, the Wigan 9-1.
Yeah.
Everyone talks about Defoe's 5
Didn't
goals.
you get 4 assists that day or something?
4 assists, a goal. He was absolutely untouchable. That period we've had, he did very well under Martin Jol. And with Martin Jol, my man,
love Martin.
We chucked in a 16, 17, 18-year-old. Right now, we're looking at, do we trust the youth? He just chucked him in and watched him fly. Just watched him fly. He was brilliant there. I think his best period was with Harry, though, wasn't it? His best period. And the little enlarged double act he had, because he knew Peter Crouch inside out. He knew Peter Crouch inside out. But that got into the England camp. But you remember Chelsea, Milan, the Wigan game for me. Forget the score. Just a single-handed performance. When people talk to me about that game, I actually say Aaron Lennon played better than Jermaine Defoe. I really do.
All Defoe had to do was put it in the back of the net. Aaron Lennon did all the hard work.
Exactly. It was unbelievable. But listen, the time has come.
One sec, just before you move on, I don't know if you remember back in 2006, that World Cup, Aaron Lennon gets called up as an 18-year-old.
Yep.
And everyone's going into the World Cup going, oh, Theo Walcott's going to do this. Theo Walcott's going to do that. And Theo Walcott, did he even get on the pitch I don't even know if he got on the
played
pitch or
against
not.
Portugal, I believe.
I don't
And
think
then
no, I don't
Aaron
think
Lennon,
No,
he
that was
comes on.
2006, no.
Every time Lennon came on in that World Cup, he was dynamite, electric.
Listen, Ben, I was about to go on to the next one, but if you ever on any show want to interrupt me to give a dig at Arsenal, feel totally enough to.
Yeah, do it. Just do it.
But yeah, here we go. One more. I think everyone knows who number 7 is going to be.
Yeah, that's right. Paul Staltieri.
Hey.
Let's do this. It is
Paul Staltieri away to West Ham. I mean, we could do a whole episode on that if you want.
maybe he is on one of the days. Maybe he is on one of the days. You'll have to wait and see. But yeah, it's time to talk about this man, the captain, the icon, whatever you want to call it. Ben Kaufman, take us away.
I love this man. That's all you need to know, really. But yeah, Sonny has been an absolute superstar for Tottenham since he joined from Leverkusen years and years. It's so long now. It's like he's been my entire adulthood. A lot of the players on this are players of my childhood, but Sonny is one of those players of my adulthood that I've just grown up with him. I've become a man with him, and you've seen the progression of him coming as like a really fresh-faced boy. Like
he's become a man with you, Ben, as well.
Yeah. He's been the guy that was going to be a superstar in Korea because he was one of Korea's best players and now is Korea's captain as well. And his progression every single year, he's just getting better. Last year was an anomaly because he was injured the entire season. And with the mentality of someone like Sonny, he always wants to play. He wants to give his best for them. For the badge, the best for the club, the best for the fans. He gets Tottenham fans. He just gets them. And even in the summer, when there was a lot of rumours about whether a Saudi team would purchase him because of his status as a footballer, first thing he said, "I want to play for Spurs." That's what Son Heung-min means to us. He is just a bona fide Tottenham legend in the making already. Taken over as captain from Hugo Lloris this year. Out of nowhere, really. He was always going to be the guy that was going to take over with the leaving of Harry Kane, his double act. But he's proven this year that it's not just him and Harry Kane. With Maddison as well, he's been absolutely sensational. Top scorer this year already. Yes, he's gone a bit missing in a few games, but mostly because the team has not played well because of the lack of players. He's just a wonderful player. He puts a smile on everyone's face because he plays with a smile on people's faces. And he's just the guy. I think he's just an absolute superstar. We're so lucky to have him. But he loves us just as much as we love him. So he's brilliant. He's just absolutely brilliant. And I love it that he's our captain. And he's been a decent captain so far. But I think he can get even better.
Yeah. Mr. Daniel.
This guy is hands down our best signing probably ever or in the Premier League era for sure. 100% in the Premier League era. Can't really talk about ever, but you're talking about a legend at this football club without winning a trophy alongside Harry Kane. You know, the amount of goals he's scored at this football club, the amount of important goals he's scored, a guy who leads by example, always has a smile on his face, but he's also got that leadership qualities as well. I think you've seen him step up as well since he's got the captaincy this season. Steps up in big moments. Etihad, Anfield, you know, he's always there. He's always scoring brilliant goals, left foot, right foot, crossing ability, shooting ability. I mean, this guy has everything, maybe apart from heading. But but even then, he scored a couple of headers in his Spurs shirt. Yeah. You're talking about a man as well who pretty much creates a bromance with everyone. You're talking about from the Eric Dyers, from the Dele Allis to the James Maddisons, Harry Kanes. I mean, who doesn't this guy have a bromance with? He's a model professional.
Yeah.
And Puskas Award winner. What can you say? He's an icon at Tottenham, icon in his country. Living legend. That's what he is. An absolute living legend.
I think I need to break this down into three components. The player, the man, the skipper. The player, you got to remember, when we signed him, there was still always from the Far East, who is he? there's players like Park Ji-sung Park. What Akiwa said?
Park Ji-sung.
There you go. That have led the way and are trailblazers for people. Like there's all around the world when players come in and they're not a known footballing entity. Well, he came to United. Well, Heung-min's son has opened the doors for so many people in that region of the world that are now respected in football, whether it be South Korea, Japan, China. But the player, my God, when we first signed him, you didn't know what you were getting. You just didn't, unless you watched Bundesliga. The first season as well, he wanted to leave. And thank God for Pochettino doing what he did to keep him. Because, my God, this man is simply devastating. He is absolutely...
Never knew. It could have cleared the pathway for George, Kevin and Kudu. Who knows?
Oh, exactly. Oh, don't forget Clinton and G. Don't forget Clinton and G was around the time as well. But listen, this guy, like you said, Ben, the times that you need someone to step up and deliver, 9 times out of 10, it's been Sonny. 9 times out of 10. This guy, I mean, people talk about the Puskas goal being the greatest goal that he scored in his Spurs shirt. For me, it's not even in the top 2. He's got my first game watching Spurs at the Scotland Yard in Toronto was the 1-0 against West Ham at Christmas, where he scored an absolute thunderbolt.
Yeah.
But my favourite one, and it's such a shame because half the world or the stadium was empty, was that goal against the Filth. That curler was, I mean, the technical ability for the Burnley one is sheer pace and skill. That was, no matter, Spurs released that video showing it from every angle, and every angle it just gets better and better and better. The player is like no other. But when you talk about the man, Ben, you mentioned it, like romance. I can't remember who asked the question. I think it was a movie star. I think it might have been Tom Holland, and they said, "Is Sonny the nicest man in football?" And he went, "No, he's the nicest man on the planet."
And that's true. That's so true.
You will not find a single person that will disagree with it. Even when you watch the sensational documentary and get the back, Thierry Henry loves it. Like Arsenal players and fans love him.
Brian, we mentioned pricks at the beginning of the episode. You got to be a proper prick if you don't like Heung-min Son.
There you go. And I have to say, when you watch this video back, you'll see me laughing whilst we're talking about Tony Galvin. It's just because I couldn't get Ben's joke out of my head. Like, but yeah, the man, incredible. Absolutely does so much for charity. He's just, anyone would love to spend any moment of time with him. But you know what? Where he's elevated, where he's gone to levels I didn't even think he had in him, is the skipper. You look, just the things he's done. I'll talk about the huddle that we saw against Brentford. Ben, you were there. There.
Small things that make such a difference.
And I started off believing that was at Postecoglou. I was like, oh my God. And then it broke that Maddison said, Sonny Tech. We saw that at the Emirates. Incredible. One thing that really, really grabs me with this leadership, forget on the pitch where you can see him running Romero when he had a bad game against Arsenal. It was on international duty with Korea, when Korea played Wales, and then there was a picture that Sonny put on all his socials of him in his Korea shirt and Roden, Davies and Johnson having a picture going, I can't remember the words, but it was like family, blood. It's just those little things that you have not seen another captain do. And there's so many people that say probably the best skipper since Steve Perryman. I say that. And it'd be hard to it really would be hard to. You didn't see a Kane, a Lloris. I would say Gary Mabbutt, because for me Gary Mabbutt's inspirational, but it's a different kind of level. But I mean, this guy. All I hope is when this guy does leave Spurs, I hope it's because he's retired from football. If he goes back to Korea, which I imagine he would, I hope he can carry on being like an ambassador for Tottenham out there. And if there's ever in his later life in football, once he's retired and done what he wanted to do, if there is ever a man that should come back to this club in an ambassadorial level or anything he wants, it's this man here.
And Brian, we spoke about earlier in the episode, the Teddy Sheringham and Darren Anderton partnership.
Yeah.
I mean, that had nothing on the Heung-min Son and Harry Kane partnership. Yeah. Statistically, the best partnership in Premier League history, right?
Yep.
The most goals between them. So, and that's for a team that, you know, Jose, Conte, all these managers where we didn't do well, and yes, we did well under very much well under Pochettino, but still never won anything. You've got all these clubs that have been winning trophies year after year, Man City, Man United, all in the Premier League era, and you've got those two who create the most goals between them.
And you know the worst thing about this all, and we're not going to harp on this for long or at all. The worst thing about this, and there's kind of a subliminal theme that we haven't meant to set up, but funnily it has. He is the only man on this list that we've done that is trophyless.
Yeah. Wow.
You look at it. We've been doing this as you go through the history. There's teams, there's players and managers that have won more individually than I've seen in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And their brief time at Spurs. If this man doesn't walk away with a piece of silverware, it's one of the biggest crimes in football, in my opinion.
What's a bigger crime, that or Harry Kane not having a trophy?
It's both. It's both, really.
Yeah, but you can go through the list. But no, that's changing the direction of the show, and I'm not doing it at Christmas. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. So, Mr. Daniel, I want to thank you very, very much indeed. And as I said with Simeon when he came on, this is the time where we go round to people to plug where they are, but everyone should know where the mothership is. And if you can't find the mothership, Ben, where can they find the mothership?
Just type in mothership onto YouTube and you'll go right into our direction. We are Tottenham TV on YouTube. Now, thank you for having me on today. It's been real good fun. So hopefully we'll be able to do some more before the end of the countdown.
Damn right.
Ben, what have you got coming up?
Well, it's the coffee company. So we've got a wonderful Christmas coffee at the moment, which you should all drink because it's absolutely delicious. You've got
any Hanukkah coffee?
Yeah. You've got plenty of time to buy some before the end of the month. It's really, really good. So try the Christmas coffee, 8 the Broadway, Woodford Green, if you want to try it. And it's just come by, have a good coffee, and yeah, be chill, be nice, be kind.
And there we go. Everyone have a very, very, very Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. We will be back tomorrow with day 8, which I think people will know is going to be a very, very big one for myself.
Yeah.
And Player War, that number. And it's going to be a cracker. So everyone, thank you for joining. Have a good Christmas.
Yeah.
And come on, you Spurs.
Go, you Spurs.
You Spurs. Tottenham Talk.